How we doing? This is Fox back again for sound design tutorials. In this tutorial today I'm going to be showing you how to make a new alternative to a Supersaw lead using only square waves. You wouldn't believe the amount of people ask me to make them Supersaw leads and all the different synths and that. Square waves are underrated. With a bit of modulation and some effects you can get a really rich sounding lead using square waves rather than a saw wave. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you today. So I'll show you the sound quickly with a little beat that I've made. There you have it. I'll mute these drums quick and I'll just show you the sound on its own. There we go, lovely rich sounding lead. I had a bit of modulation on it with a ping pong delay and a bit of sidechain compression to the kick, but I've turned that off now. So we'll go ahead and create a new instance of Massive. As I say, I use 3 oscillators. All 3 of them are a square wave, so pull them all the way to the left. The top one I'll detune slightly to 0.06. The second one I had up an octave, plus 12, and then I had it detuned to plus 0.04. The third one I had negative 0.3. Just a slight bit of detuning from one another. How I got this sound to sound so different is I used different variants in this box here. The first one I had as a formant, and I pulled the intensity to about 10 o'clock. Second one I had band negative and plus. I had the intensity on about 1 o'clock. The third one I had just on a bend plus. I had the intensity about the same as oscillator 2. We're going to use 2 filters for this sound. I had it, when I made the sound originally, I had it totally on series and then I blended it with a little bit of parallel. So you want it about there, about a quarter of the way between the 2. The filter that I used was a scream filter. This helped bring out some harmonics in the sound. The resonance I pulled down slightly, and the scream I had at about 1 o'clock. Push the cutoff round to about 2 o'clock. I'm going to modulate the cutoff with this and the cutoff of filter 2 with an envelope, LFO, sorry, a bit later on. And for filter 2 I used an acid filter. This again helped add some nice harmonics which made it sound a little less like a static square. The cut off round to about the same as that. Volume for this filter on maximum. And the mix I had, not dead centre, leaning slightly towards the acid, about 2/3 of the way towards the filter 2. I'll go ahead to the voicing section now before we do any modulation or anything like that. So in the voicing section I'll set the unison to 6, make it quite wide. I'll turn the pitch cutoff on. I pulled it so you could just see the first little white line sticking out the bottom. I used envelope 3 to modulate this pan pitch cutoff as well. We'll set that envelope up quickly. It's pretty much how I had it at standard. I'll back the attack off slightly, increase the level up, and the release is where it was. So pretty much a standard ADSR envelope. And I use this to modulate this pitch cutoff up from where I've had it set. Not much. About that much. About 5 mil. About the width of the slider. Turn the pan position on, set it about 4/5 of the way, just before full. Okay, we will go now to the Modulation Oscillator. The only thing I did use here was a bit of ring mod via Oscillator 2. I pitched it up 1 octave, plus 12 semitones, and I had the ring mod volume at about 2 o'clock. I did use a bit of white noise. I had the volume going all the way to filter 1, and I had the amp at about 11 o'clock. Envelope 4 is as it was a standard. Yeah, insert 1. Actually, we'll go to the routing section to make sure everything's how it should be. You need to click on these 2 B's here, so that this orange line runs all the way through, and then we're going to send it into Effects 1 first. Click on this box here, so insert 2 comes here. Really straightforward. Orange line all the way through into Effects 1, insert 2 here. So yeah, that's it for the routing section. I didn't use any feedback. Insert 1, I used a parabolic shaper, so click it, turn it on. Parabolic shaper. The dry wet I had about 10 o'clock, and the drive just a little above its original position, in between 12 and 1. Insert 2 had a sine shaper, which is a distortion. I don't generally use a distortion on a lead sound, but because I wanted to try and... I weren't trying to get it to sound like a Supersaw, but I wanted to warm the mids up a bit more than they already were. So the dry wet I had on about 10 o'clock, and the drive, again, just back from centre. Makes the sound just a little bit wider. I'll go ahead and modulate these 2 cut-offs now with an LFO that I did. I used LFO 5, you can use any one you want. I dragged it to the first modulation box of filter for cut-off 1 and the first box for cut-off 2, and I pulled them just both back slightly. This little bit of movement is going to make a hell of a difference. I'll play it without it and then I'll pull it in. Gives it a nice fading effect towards the end of the notes. I had the ratio on 1/4. I just backed the attack off slightly and pushed the decay pretty much all the way out. Just back a little bit, so it's sort of like this broken sort of thing. Crossfade I had all the way to the top, so we're only using the sine wave. Okay, just the 2 effects to do now then. In FX 1 I had a dimension expander. Dry wet just back from its original position, same with the size, just a tad. That makes anything sound instantly wider and brighter, dimension expander. If you go anything above sort of 12 o'clock on the dry wet, it really starts to... It starts to muddy the highs up in my eyes, so I'd never generally go above dead centre. FX2 I had as a reverb. I wanted a reverb and a delay on this, as well as a dimension expander. The delay inside massive... I prefer the reverb to the delay, if that makes any sense. So I used the reverb and then I used the ping pong delay afterwards as an effect inside Ableton. So yeah, the reverb I used was just the standard reverb, not the small one. And the dry wet I pulled back to about 11. The size just back from its original position. I just pushed the colour up slightly just to make it brighter. Rather, the reverb is aiming higher up the spectrum rather than at the mids or the lows. And in the EQ section, I boosted everything pretty much. I boosted the low shelf and the boost and the frequency. Kept the high shelf where it were. So yeah, that's the sound pretty much done. I didn't do anything else inside Massive, nice and straightforward, no real crazy modulation with anything, just that LFO giving it sort of that little bit of a wash into the sound. I'll turn these effects on now. I've got the side chain compression from the kick and the ping pong delay. Ping pong delay really helps with the whole atmosphere of the sound and makes it sound. I use the word wider a lot, but it does make it sound a lot wider. Side chain compression to the kick, and now I'll play it with this little drum beat again. Sounds really nice, played a lot lower down in the spectrum as well. This is everything, all the chords and that I played a 1 octave lower. If you want that sort of fade to go the other way, so the notes tail off longer at the end, you can push the LFO around to the right totally. Or you can have no LFO at all. I thought it made a nice addition to the sound, but this is it without. There you have it, a lovely alternative to a Supersaw lead using only square waves. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel and subscribe to this if you've enjoyed this or any of my other tutorials. It's www.youtube.com/MrMFox22. Facebook and Google Plus is Sound Design Tutorials, and the best way to get hold of me if you've got any requests or anything like that is Twitter. Tweet me at SoundDesignTuts. Okay, thanks again. Cheers.